Hello and welcome back to another good Game Nation video where we bring you everything TCG. My name is Sam and I'm bringing you a deck profile today. Yes, set 1 is live in the West for a couple of weeks now. We wanted to share with you what we've been playing in the meta, what we've seen in the meta, what our thoughts are. We're bringing you Uses Captain Kid today. You know that. You clicked on the video. The list is right over to our... Oop, that way. Whoa. Right over to our right. If you wanted to see the list, you're good. If you wanted to see what I thought about the list, what some cards that you could play, other versions, some of the matchups, stick around and we'll talk it out. Thank you so much for watching. If you are playing Uses Captain Kid yourself, head over to our YouTube page and look at our community link. We are looking for you guys to post your deck profiles there, what you guys are playing, so we can go over them in an upcoming Community Meta Monday video. Thank you so much, guys, and let's get right into the deck. Uses Captain Kid is the leader that we are playing in this list. Uses Captain Kid offers us a lot of versatility. He can be incredibly offensive. I know people that play him and just attack twice every single turn. I know people that play him very defensively and just clear the board. I think the ability to do both is what makes this leader just the best leader in this first one meta. And let's get right into the character cards. You could play this deck a couple ways. I've seen the Supernova deck, which I'm still a huge fan of. It's a much more aggressive version of the deck. I prefer the Wano version, playing 4 Momos. I think the Wano version offers a little more control, a little more defense, and I think it helps build against all the matchups a little bit better. Momos are Searcher, pull any of our Wano cards, a must if we're playing the Wano version. 4 Veggies, don't need to speak too much on the 1-drop blocker. He is a staple. He is very good early, very good late. He sets up our killer combos. He helps protect our 8-drop kid the first turn he's played. That's usually the first turn he's very susceptible. So, Beji, Supernova as well. Lets us search him with Jewelry Bonnie. If you've been playing Killer or Kid for a little bit, Bonnie's a must. All your cards, a lot of your cards are Supernovas. The core of your deck is Supernovas. All your big drops are Supernovas. Bonnie's a 4. Gotta run the Jewelry Bonnie. We're playing a lot of 1-drops. It really gives us the ability to play 4 of this set Killer. Killer with a couple extra character cards on board with a block, lets you draw a card. Uses Captain Kid is a very strong leader already. If he has more card draw, he becomes very impossible to play against. As an opponent, this is a card that you would like to avoid, either by clearing your other opponent's character cards or trying to remove him another way. Killer, 4, definitely. Another one of the Wano editions, Cat Viper. This is a card that I think got a slow start in the meta. I think early kid decks, especially the ones we saw in the East, were not playing this one. We were playing a little more aggressive, a little more Supernovas. This card, definitely over the last month of set 1, they were playing at 4 counts as it's a must. It really helps that Zoro matchup. It helps mirror matches. It really helps hurt your opponent from setting up their own killers. It removes the purple blockers. Gets rid of a lot of these 1-drop blockers, and everyone is playing early blockers, so Cat Viper definitely always has value. 4, Scratchman Apu. I really like this ability. This ability, when we read it, was like, wow, that's a pretty unique ability. You don't get the opportunity to use it a lot, I'm going to be honest, and for it to either be very effective or either on your board and being effective, it always has value in your hand, being a 2K counter and being searchable by Bonnie. Very valuable 2K combo, and that is the reason it is here. But I like the idea that we can use that ability, so wanted to mention it. 4 Izos, again, very similar to Cat Viper, except Izo is a 2K combo, and we're tapping 3s, or 4s and higher. You're not hitting a different threshold, I would say, with Izo versus Cat Viper. Some of the blue stuff, like Dofi, a lot of the drops are 4-drops, so if there's something pesky, Izo can hit him. When purple gets their Shanks deck, Uda is going to be another prime candidate for Izo. But for now, if we're not playing Izo, Izo is at least a 2K combo. Definitely play 4 of Izo if you're playing the Wano version. 4 Okiku. This is a card that people were a little questioned about. It doesn't have combo power, and it's an early drop, so it's a little unique. But again, we don't have another card that taps 5 yet. The 4-drop Yamato from set 2 obviously isn't available to us. So Okiku is a nice, I think, substitution for this, and gives us an early attacker that until then we hadn't really gotten to. Okiku is a 3-drop 5K, so it's very powerful, and tapping 5-drops. A lot of the really annoying blockers are 5-drops. Thinking Queen specifically. To finish purple off, you usually need an Okiku to remove Queen. Definitely run 3 at least of Kikus, or 4 if you're playing the Wano version. Play a couple of Kikus. Again, draw power, Raizo. Raizo requires other character cards to be incredibly powerful, so I'm only running 2 for that notion. But when you do get him off, and we can get him off comfortably, and maybe get him off more than once, that game's over. If we could set him up with Eustace Captain Kidd, or behind a couple blockers so we can get a couple attacks off, Raizo sees a lot of value. Paradise Waterfall sees a lot of its value in Raizo as well. Keep that draw going, keep your deck flowing, keep seeing those cards. 4, Basil Hawkins. Basil Hawkins definitely saw a lot of controversy early on, but definitely finds a home, I think, in Set 1 meta. A lot of red right now. I'm sure if you've been going to locals, you've seen a lot of Zoro. Basil Hawkins really helps that matchup. It really helps the blue matchup as well if they're playing Sentomaru. There's a lot of blue tempo going around. Basil Hawkins helps this. Basil Hawkins can also be a discard tool for your Eustace Captain Kidd. So if you see a lot of them in your hand and you're like, wow, that card's really bad, just remember the reason I'm running 4 is I always have a backup plan for it. It's always discard fodder for Kidd. So I only ever need 1 or 2, but I run 4 to make sure I see it, because it's a very strong card in the late game. And if they're playing a tempo deck, especially against Law, card almost wins you the matchup if in Law, if you can get it established. 4 of the 7-drop Kidd. Your back end usually needs to be your KO card, so if you're looking at purple, it's your Kaido. If you're looking at blue, it's your Dauphin or Mihawks. Red has a ton. But for green, I believe the KO card is going to be Eustace Captain Kidd, so the late game drops need to be defensive in my mind. 4 of the 7-drop Kidd can be offensive, but mostly defensive. Very strong card. Can be pesky in some matchups. We'll go over that later, but 4 7-drop Kidds. And again, same thing with Basil. I want to see it. If I see too many, it's always discard fodder. And 3 of the 8-drop Kidd. You know, if you were watching any of the tournaments in the East, you were familiar with this guy being very much a problem. Decks have to build against this guy. 10-drop Kaido has to be played because of this guy. You're playing so many Jet Pistols, probably en route because of this guy. But he's still a very strong card, even though there are countermeasures involved. So you still play him. Again, very powerful card with Raizo, very powerful card with Beji. I've seen this card be very successful with the secret rare that we saw in the secret rare Yamato. We saw that in a set 2 tournament. So Kidd definitely still sees success, and even in set 2, strong 8-drop, a must. And a couple event cards. I play 4 Paradise Waterfalls. It's a 1-drop. It's a 2K combo, 2K counter. Very good at protecting Raizo. Very good at protecting your Basil Hawkins as well. A lot of attacks that come into Basil are usually around 7K. 7K is a threshold that players are very comfortable with. So Basil Hawkins getting that 2K pump from Paradise Waterfall not only saves him from that attack, but prevents him from the next one. I like Paradise Waterfall at 4. And then 1 Punk Gibson. The truth is, I had 49 cards, and I was trying to figure out if I should pump Raizo up to 1, or maybe run another 4-drop. In testing, I found 1 Punk Gibson to be pretty strong. It was a card I never was hungry for, but when I saw it, it was always very nice. And being able to pull it out with Bonnie was another nice twist as well. If I did see it, it was late in the game. That 4K combo being able to be pulled out of your deck is a nice plus. That is the Kidd list. Things you want to look for in your opening hand. Deck movement. I like always seeing deck movement. I like seeing Jewelry Bonnie, Killer, Momo, even a Raizo. It's not a must, but if you see it, it's always nice. But these guys, if you see a combination of these cards and a couple of your others, you're usually in a good spot. If you're seeing a ton of your top end, mull that hand. And if you still see a lot of your top end after the mull, remember you can always clear the board with your leader effect, discarding them, just to stay alive until we can find a pattern of play to get you back into the game. Yes, matchups that we're looking at. The mirror match is probably the most pesky. Identifying if they're playing the Supernova version or the Wano version is probably the most imperative. You'll know if they play a Momo, basically. If they're not playing the Momo version, take a deep breath. And they're probably playing the Drake version. The Drake version has to be established on the board. So your Kikus, your Izos, to being able to take out those Drakes are imperative. They're going to use everything to save that guy. So remove him if you can. If it's a Wano matchup, It's a coin flip, you know, it's a mirror. I wouldn't say there's any cards you can tech more for that matchup. It's who sees what card at what time, so prey on your matchup, your knowledge of the leader being better, so practice that matchup. Purple. Purple is a good matchup for you. You know, you don't have a lot of things that I would say you're worried about in the early game. Purple really wants to just survive, so you have the free ability to either play a ton of cards or just attack a lot with your leader. If you overcommit, they'll drop the 10 drop and you'll lose a lot of momentum. So I usually recommend attacking a lot with your leader and leaving 1 or 2 character cards on board to make that decision tough for your opponent. Attack with the leader against purple. Very, very strong chance you'll win that game. Blue is very strong in our current meta. I think we've seen a lot of it as well. Early meta, blue really has an advantage. I think your Wano line, again, really helps with this matchup. I'm just going to leave them out. They're very controlling. They very much control the battlefield. And a lot of them are going to come out, are going to be 4-drops. Your Kikos and Izos are very good at controlling your blue matchup. Keep that in mind. Your 7-drop Kid is a card I would avoid. Doflamingo or a Mihawk, sending this guy to either your hand or bottom of the deck is a horrible tempo play for you. You just spent your whole turn sending this guy out, and they spent their turn and they kept their guy and sent your guy away. Terrible turn. I usually avoid playing him because of that. This is the one matchup where you necessarily don't want to play this guy. He becomes discard fodder, and you don't want to pull him out with Bonnie 90% of the time. If they're playing a Crocodile, you can feel a little more comfortable, but if it's a Doflamingo, a blue-purple Croc, I would probably avoid him. The 8-drop Kid is your best friend. Play him instead. Basil Hawkins is still safe to play. It doesn't feel great when it gets bounced, but it's not the worst. It's not too hard to play back. Yes. For the red matchup, again, these 3 cards, your Wano matchup. Your Wano really helps survive the early game so we can get to our late game. There's not a lot red can do to get at least through them. They'll have to either Otama, Jet Punch, or just go around it with the Jambe or Starter Luffy. But other than that, that red matchup is really good for you. Burn their resources. They don't have a lot of draw. They have to play Nami. That's their best source of draw. If they play Saboti, it's a 1-for-1, so it's not necessarily a plus. So I usually recommend not attacking leader right away. Burn their resources, kill their character cards, wait for them to have, you know, 1 or 2 left. Use your established board to slowly drain them out. That's what I would recommend against red specifically. And if we're looking for cards we could play, I've seen success with the Secret Yamato. You can absolutely run that card. I think it. I like the 5-drops where I'm at, so I couldn't justify taking out a Basil Hawkins. That really benefited my a couple of my matchups for a card that would be very nice for KOing opponents. So I leave the Basil, but you absolutely could play that Yamato. Again, you could play the Supernova variant. Drake is a very strong card, very aggressive, puts on a ton of pressure on your opponent, and definitely a valuable deck. I will link to one down there. The dev link for this deck will be down there as well. And that would do it, guys. Thank you so much for watching. If you are still here, please do all the YouTube things, like, comment, subscribe. If you're already playing Kid, link it in the community tab. Let me know what tech you've tried, what tech you want to try. If you're not playing some of the Wano cards, let me know if you decide to try, and if you have success with it, let me know down in the comments. Guys, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Later.